What's going on, everyone? So, Rob Pelinka had some real praise for Anthony Davis and believes that he has just begun as a player. So, Rob Pelinka said, "We believe in the character of Anthony Davis, not just the person he is. Nobody in life can prevent health stuff happening unexpectedly. We think at 30 years old, he's heading into the peak of his career." Now, this isn't really that crazy and that far fetched. I mean, he is in the prime and entering the prime of his career. You got to imagine he's probably got a good 4 to 5 years of just quality dominant basketball that should be expected from him. And Rob Pelinka is correct in the sense of like you can't control injuries. And I always think it's funny that Anthony Davis has this growing narrative of just he's always injured, he's never reliable. He has all the nicknames of, he's glass, he's soft, he's this, he's that, he's the other. He just proved this past season that he can play through injuries and that he could play through an entire playoff series. But also, when you look at the games he's played since he's been a Laker and you compare it to pretty much any star in the league not named Jokic, he's played as many games, if not more. The NBA, as we knew it, of superstars and stars playing 82 games or playing 70 games or whatever, that doesn't really exist anymore. There are very few stars that aren't injured, that don't miss 20 plus games in a season. It's just where we are as far as the NBA is and the players in which play in this league, right? Where players would go and get a little foot injury or have like a sprain or something like that and would just play through it. Now you see those players actually sit out and rest. A lot of that, I think, has to do with the money that is being thrown around, right? Do you want to give somebody $400 million and they have like a sprain or something and then you have them play through it and now they break it, right? They sprain their ankle and now they break their ankle and now you got to deal with that, right? It's, I think, a big factor in why organizations do that. But regardless, whatever it is, Anthony Davis, I fully believe, can be MVP level Anthony Davis. I love that Rob Pelinka went and gave AD that extension already because now that narrative won't be hanging over the Lakers like a dark cloud. That would have been part of the conversation. The media would have ran with that and driven with that. And the focus is let's go win an NBA championship, right? The focus is we have the deepest roster in the league. We still have 2 top 10 stars. No other team has that. We have a guy in Anthony Davis that when he's playing to the level that we've seen him play, you talk about the best player in the league, right? Can he consistently do that though? That's a real question, right? He is now locked up long term and is going to be the number one guy of this franchise for the foreseeable future. LeBron has spoken publicly about how he wants Anthony Davis to kind of be the number one guy. And the thing is, though, LeBron has to put AD in that position and has to really lead by example and push it, right? Because it's hard when AD, like this past playoff series, right? AD would be cooking through 3 quarters and then he wouldn't touch the ball in the 4th, right? But he's supposed to be the number one guy. That's on the coach. That's on whoever the point guard is in the middle of the game or at that time. And that's on LeBron James because there is very few moments in the basketball game where the ball doesn't touch LeBron James's hand. And LeBron has to put AD in the position to lead the charge. I've said this last year and I'll say it again this year. We go as far as Anthony Davis takes us, right? Anthony Davis was able to take us to the Western Conference Finals last year. Can he take us to the NBA Finals and win the NBA Finals this year? We're going to see. But it's going to take LeBron. LeBron is the alpha. LeBron is one of, if not the greatest players of all time. LeBron is the leader of this team, right? And as the leader of this team, it's up to him to anoint and push Anthony Davis into that number one option. It's up to the coach to run sets and run plays to allow Anthony Davis to be in the position of that success. It's also up to Anthony Davis in the same breath to demand that, right? At times, Anthony Davis could be far too passive. Establish position, call guys out, Get in LeBron's face if you have to, whatever it takes, right? He should not be as passive. Now, one of the things that I do like about Anthony Davis is he's okay with not forcing it, right? He is an incredible talent. He led the league in 35 and 15 games last year. He led the league in 30 and 15 games. And he is, by every metric, the best defensive player in the league. The level of defense he provides is bar none. The closest is Giannis. Giannis is right there. But Anthony Davis, the spacing in which he can cover, right? The impact him by himself can essentially change the landscape of a game on the defensive end. Like the Lakers go from like the mid-20s defensively last year to literally like top 12 in the league just on Anthony Davis. And then you add a guy like Jared Vanderbilt and boom, all of a sudden Lakers are the best defense in the league. And it's because of Anthony Davis and his impact, right? And he doesn't want to play center a lot, which I don't mind, right? Because that kind of allows him to kind of play that scout role more, that kind of free safety role and kind of be a help defender, which I think is really good. And he's good at using his length and closing out on space to the shooter to just deflect the shot or alter the shot or whatever. That is massive. But Anthony Davis needs to start pushing himself into the forefront as the guy, right? As much as it's on LeBron and the coach and whoever the point guard is at the time, it's also up to him. He needs to demand that. If he establishes position, there's no reason anybody should look off of him. But I do love that he's not a selfish star, right? Like you see a lot of stars in this league that they have to get theirs, right? Or they demand that they get theirs or whatever, right? Where Anthony Davis is fine playing within the offense and within the team, which I don't mind from him, right? If we don't need AD on a night to go give us 40, then why should we force it and try to force him to go get 40, right? Let him play within the scheme, which he's talked about. I mean, he talked about it countless times last year, right? And I don't mind that. I have no issues if Anthony Davis has 12 points, 12 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals, and 3 assists or whatever, right? Whatever, right? I have no issue with it. I know some people do. I know some people think he should go and drop 30 every night, but why? If we're up 30, why should Anthony Davis overexert himself? Or even if we're just killing it and dominating, right? Then why would we want to now force feed Anthony Davis and maybe take away from what is having success in that game? I don't mind Anthony Davis doing that. But when we need him, he needs to be that guy. He needs to be consistent, right? We need him to be a guy that can close down the stretch. We got great news out of LeBron's training camp that Anthony Davis is shot and 3-point shooting appears to be back, right? That he looked really good. Now, we need that desperately. Bubble Anthony Davis was like arguably, if not definitively, the best player in the league. That dude was ridiculous, was absolutely unstoppable. That guy could score basically from anywhere in the basketball court. He was hitting game-winning fadeaway threes. Like, the dude was on another level on both sides of the basketball, right? And I always find it funny that people will say, Anthony Davis sucks, or he's washed, or he's whatever. I mean, just on the surface, right? Even if you just took a second and you knew nothing about Anthony Davis and actually watching him play, if you just looked up his stats, last year he was 26 points, led the league in rebounding with 12.5, had 3 assists, 1.1 steals, and 2 blocks per game while shooting the best percentage of his career, had an EFG of 57.3, shot 2% at 58.9. It's his 3-point shooting, and it's that 15 out. 15 in, he's been absolute money. If 26, 12, 3, 2, and 2 is washed or trash or whatever, then what is a star, right? Because, that is ridiculous numbers. And Anthony Davis, I fully believe, has that guy in him to absolutely dominate game in and game out. I mean, when he was with the Pelicans, there was a genuine conversation and argument about him being the best player in the league. Because when he's that guy, there's nobody else that can do what he can do at his size. Giannis has the defense, but he has nowhere near the offensive just weaponry that Anthony Davis has when all things are clicking. When he's knocking down the three ball, he's able to knock down 15 out, all that stuff, right? Joel Embiid doesn't have the defense. He has the kind of offensive game, but he's nowhere near Anthony Davis's level of defense. Jokic, nowhere near Anthony Davis's level of defense. Plus, the mobility isn't there like Anthony Davis is. I mean, he is a crazily, I don't even think that's a word, but who cares? We're going to make it up for him type of specimen. I mean, seriously, the guy is ridiculous. But can he do that consistently? The difference between like him and a Giannis, guys like that, is like his bad games are still like 20, 10, and 3 or whatever, right? Where Anthony Davis, his bad games sometimes would be like 9, 12, and whatever, right? And again, I'm not saying, I don't judge a good game or a bad game solely on just the stats, right? Because again, Anthony Davis could have a monster game, still only get 12 points. We saw him do that on numerous occasions last year, even in the playoffs. If he's controlling the defensive side of the basketball, right? He's 5 of 6 from the field, grabbing everything rebound-wise. He's got 12 rebounds or whatever, and the Lakers win by 20. To me, that's a dominant Anthony Davis performance, right? Like, dominating the game of basketball has more to do with just scoring. But I need to see him consistently, game in and game out, be that guy. Everybody has to buy in and believe in that, including Anthony Davis. And he needs to start pushing himself for that, right? He needs to start developing into that alpha to an extent. I'm not saying he has to be, Kobe or anything level, but he needs to start this is my team. I'm the guy. Make that transition. That's what everyone thought was going to happen, after the bubble. That's what it looked like. That was LeBron's last finals MVP. That was his last moment. And then Anthony Davis, I don't know if it was him not getting the finals MVP and him, whatever. I don't know. But it clearly wasn't the same after that. And he completely lost a lot that makes him great. Injuries, I'm sure, aren't a big help in that. But he also was coming in out of shape and stuff. It's not a good look, right? Anthony Davis, he wants to play the power forward. We need him to get his shot back. We need him to get back to being that bubble AD because he was able to play power forward because of how great he was offensively. If he can get back to that, then I fully believe. I don't disagree with Rob Pelinka at all. I actually think Rob Pelinka is pretty spot on. But I don't know. I need to see it. It's one of those things I have to see it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Agree with me, disagree with me, somewhere in between. However you feel, let me know.